Eddie? No!
The suits were pastel, the music was synthesized, and somewhere between neon lights and speedboat chases, two detectives in expensive clothes redefined what television could look like. But behind the style and the swagger, nothing was simple. The star almost turned it down. The Ferrari was fake, and one scene, real cocaine kept appearing where it shouldn't. These are 20 weird facts about Miami Vice. And buried in the glamour, a composer who wrote the theme song on a bet, and a designer who dressed the cast for free just to break into America. Rev the engine. This gets dangerous fast. Number 20. The show was pitched in 2-word. Most television pitches involve detailed presentations, character breakdowns, plot summaries, market research, and carefully rehearsed speeches designed to convince network executives that an idea has potential. Brandon Tartikoff didn't need any of that. He was the president of NBC Entertainment, sitting in a creative meeting in 1983, brainstorming ideas for shows that could capture a younger audience. The network was struggling. Their demographic skewed older. Their ratings were soft, and they desperately needed something fresh that would appeal to the MTV generation without alienating traditional viewers. Someone mentioned that MTV was changing how young people consumed visual media. The quick cuts, the music-driven storytelling, the style over substance approach was resonating in ways traditional television wasn't. Number 19. Don Johnson almost wasn't Crockett.
You're expecting an hour.
It's just like summer camp, huh?
Neither did Giorgio or Armani. And she came back and she's handing out all of this stuff and, and I'm looking at it and I'm going.
When Michael Mann started casting Miami Vice, he had a very specific vision for Sonny Crockett. The character needed to be tough but vulnerable, streetwise but cultured, dangerous but charming. Finding an actor who could embody all of those contradictions proved nearly impossible. Mann's first choice was Nick Nolte, a proven film actor with the right amount of gravel in his voice and world weariness in his face. Nolte read the script, met with producers, and politely declined. He didn't want to commit to a television series, didn't want to be locked into a network schedule for years. So, Mann moved down the list. Jeff Bridges got the call next. Same result. Then Mickey Rourke, who seriously considered it before deciding to focus on film roles. The rejections kept piling up. Established actors didn't want to do television, not in 1984, when TV was still considered a step down from movies. Mann started looking at younger talent, actors who hadn't broken through yet, and might see a network series as an opportunity rather than a limitation. Don Johnson's name surfaced. Number 18. The pastel suits were a happy accident.
Who do you think you are to ask us to beg for your help? Let's nail this pig.
Detectives Sonny Crockett and Ricardo
Filming of this scene for the network television pilot Miami Vice. The whole scene lasts 8 seconds on film. It took more than 2 hours.
Miami Vice's visual signature, those soft pastel suits in mint green, coral pink, and powder blue, weren't part of the original design plan. Costume designer Jody Tillen had a very different vision for the show. She wanted the detectives to blend into Miami's street culture, wearing darker, earth tones, browns, beiges, and muted greens that would help them disappear into crowds during undercover work. She created detailed sketches, selected fabrics, and sent orders to the wardrobe supplier with specific color codes and material requirements. Then someone in the supply chain made a mistake. The order got mixed up, swapped with another production, or simply misread, depending on who tells the story. What arrived at the Miami Vice wardrobe department was completely wrong. Instead of earth tones, the racks were filled with pastel suits in colors that looked like they belonged in an ice cream shop, not on undercover detectives. Tillen was horrified. She immediately contacted the supplier, demanding they fix the error and rush the correct order. But Michael Mann walked into the wardrobe room, saw the pastel suits hanging there, and stopped cold. He pulled one off the rack, held it up to the light, studied how the fabric caught the sun, and made an instant decision. These are perfect. keep them. Number 17. They spent more. On music rights than most, shows spent on everything.
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry. I didn't finish. No, but that's because there were, in fact, only 8 parties in Elvis's mansion in Memphis.
Most television shows in the 1980s used generic library music or commissioned cheap original scores to avoid paying expensive licensing fees. Michael Mann refused to compromise. He wanted Miami Vice to sound like the radio, like the clubs, like the cultural moment it was trying to capture. That meant using real songs by real artists, contemporary hits that audiences would recognize and connect with emotionally. It also meant paying through the nose for music rights. In a typical episode, the music budget could easily exceed $100,000, more than some entire shows spent on production. Network accountants were horrified. They showed Mann spreadsheets proving that his music spending was unsustainable, that it would bankrupt the production if it continued. Mann fought them every single time. He argued that music wasn't decoration, it was storytelling, and if they cut his music budget, they would destroy what made the show special. He won most of those battles, and the show kept licensing expensive tracks. Phil Collins appeared in an episode and his song was integrated throughout. Tina Turner's music underscored emotional moments. Glenn Frey, Peter Gabriel, Frankie Goes to Hollywood. The list of expensive artists went on and on. Number 16. The Ferrari wasn't a Ferrari.
180 miles an hour. New paint, new rubber.
Absolutely essential for any type of serious work.
The white Testarossa became as iconic as the pastel suits, a sleek Italian supercar that screamed wealth, power, and speed. Crockett drove it through Miami streets like he owned the city, and audiences assumed it was the real thing, an actual Ferrari provided by the manufacturer for product placement. It wasn't. In the early seasons, that Testarossa was a complete fake, a kit car body built on a Chevrolet Corvette chassis by a company called McBurney. The fabrication was good enough to fool cameras, but would never pass close inspection by anyone who knew cars. Ferrari certainly knew. When the show became a hit and Ferrari executives saw their brand being represented by a counterfeit vehicle on international television, they were furious. Their lawyers sent cease and desist letters, threatened lawsuits, and demanded the production stop using the fake Testarossa immediately. It was a public relations disaster. Ferrari's reputation was built on exclusivity and authenticity, and here was a cheap American kit car masquerading as their flagship model in front of millions of viewers every week. NBC panicked. They pulled the car from the show, scrambled to figure out how to write around its absence, and prepared for expensive legal battles. Then something unexpected happened. Ferrari's American division recognized an opportunity. Miami Vice had made their cars desirable to a whole new generation of viewers. Number 15. Cigarette boats were confiscated. Drug runners' boats.
$50,000. Don't drop them in the ocean.
Small change.
Miami Vice's speedboat chases were legendary. Those sleek, powerful cigarette boats screaming across Biscayne Bay at 80 miles per hour. Engines roaring, spray flying, pure adrenaline captured on film. The boats looked expensive because they were expensive. High-performance racing vessels worth hundreds of thousands of dollars each. The production couldn't afford to buy them, couldn't justify renting them at market rates, and couldn't find a manufacturer willing to loan them out for the inevitable damage that stunt work would cause. So they found another source. The Metro-Dade Police Department had a problem. Federal drug enforcement operations were seizing boats from smugglers faster than the department could process them. These weren't ordinary boats. They were custom-built speed machines designed specifically for outrunning Coast Guard cutters, equipped with modified engines, reinforced hulls, and hidden compartments that once held millions of dollars worth of cocaine. After seizure, the boats sat in impound lots, depreciating, costing money to maintain, serving no useful purpose. Someone in the Miami Vice production office made a call. Would the police department be willing to loan confiscated boats to a television show filming in Miami? The answer was yes, enthusiastically. It was free publicity for law enforcement. It gave the boats a purpose, and it cost the department nothing. Number 14. Jan Hammer composed the theme. On a bet. Jan Hammer was already an established musician, a Czech-born composer and keyboardist who had worked with jazz legends and released his own albums. When Miami Vice hired him to score the show, he brought serious credentials and a reputation for sophisticated electronic composition. But he also brought an ego. During a production meeting, someone mentioned that creating a memorable TV theme was one of the hardest challenges in television, that most composers struggled for weeks to find something that worked. Hammer disagreed. He said, "Writing a great theme wasn't that difficult if you understood structure and had the right instincts." Someone challenged him, "Prove it. Write the Miami Vice theme right now, this afternoon, and if it's actually good, we'll use it." Hammer accepted the bet immediately. He left the meeting, went straight to his studio, and sat down at his synthesizers. He didn't sketch ideas or experiment with different approaches. He just started playing, letting the sound build organically, layering electronic drums, adding that distinctive synth melody that would become instantly recognizable, creating something that felt both futuristic and primal. 4 hours later, he walked back into the production office with a finished track. He played it once. Nobody said anything for a moment. Then someone started nodding. Someone else smiled. And just like that, Hammer had won his bet. The theme he composed in a single afternoon became one of the most iconic pieces of television music ever created. Number 13. Philip Michael Thomas. Thought he'd win. An Oscar...
5 shots in the back of the head with a 22.
Emmy Award?
Yeah, and Golden Globe Award.
Golden Globe Award?
Yeah. Well, you know what?
So far, how are things going?
Well, I was nominated.
Confidence is essential for actors. Self-belief, the ability to walk into auditions and onto sets knowing you belong there, that's what separates working actors from stars. But Philip Michael Thomas took confidence to a different level entirely. After Miami Vice became a hit and he became famous as Ricardo Tubbs, Thomas started giving interviews where he made bold predictions about his future. He didn't just think he would have a successful career, he believed he would achieve an EGOT, winning an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony, the rarest achievement in entertainment that only a handful of performers have ever accomplished. Reporters asked how he planned to do this. Thomas explained that he would win the Emmy for Miami Vice, obviously. The Grammy would come from the music album he was planning to record. The Oscar would follow when he transitioned to film roles, and the Tony would cap everything off when he conquered Broadway. He said all of this with complete sincerity. No irony, no hedge, just absolute certainty that he was destined for this level of success. The interviews were published. Other actors read them and cringed. Industry insiders shook their heads. Even Don Johnson reportedly told him to tone it down, that this kind of talk made him look delusional. Number 12. Real drug dealers appeared as extras.
Oh, what? The customer's always right?
Yo, we in the projects. The customer be fucked up.
Michael Mann wanted authenticity in every frame of Miami Vice. He hired real Miami locations, used actual police procedures, and insisted that the criminal world depicted on screen needed to feel genuine, not like Hollywood's sanitized version of street life. So, when casting directors started looking for extras to fill out crowd scenes in nightclubs, on street corners, and in the background of drug deals, they made an unconventional decision. They started hiring real Miami criminals. Not major players, not anyone currently facing serious charges, but low-level dealers, runners, and street hustlers who knew the world the show was trying to portray. These weren't trained actors. Most had never been on a film set before, but they moved correctly, stood correctly, talked correctly. They knew how to look casual while watching for police, how to position themselves during a transaction, and how to communicate without words in situations where attention meant danger. Directors loved them because they didn't need coaching. You could put them in a scene and they would naturally do what real criminals do. Of course, this created problems. Some of the extras would disappear between takes to conduct actual business. Others would bring friends who weren't cleared by production. A few tried to steal equipment or shake down crew members. Security became a nightmare, with production assistants trying to manage people who didn't follow rules and didn't respond to authority. But Mann kept hiring them anyway because what they brought to the screen was impossible to fake. Number 11. The Alligator was unscripted.
Do me a favor. Chain him down for me.
Later, boys.
This is where they were walking. This is not exactly, it was more that way, and I'll show you that as well. It's pretty much still the same except for this fence over here.
Film productions plan everything meticulously. Every shot is storyboarded, every prop is accounted for. Every animal that appears on screen is trained, insured, and handled by professionals. But sometimes nature doesn't care about production schedules. During a season 2 shoot in the Everglades, the crew was filming a tense scene where Crockett and Tubbs were tracking a suspect through swampy terrain. The location was remote, the water was murky, and the atmosphere was perfect for the kind of dangerous, claustrophobic mood Mann wanted. Cameras were rolling, actors were hitting their marks, everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Then a large alligator surfaced about 20 feet from where Don Johnson was standing. Nobody had put it there. It wasn't a trained animal, it was just a wild gator doing what wild gators do, floating in its territory, completely uninterested in Hollywood. Number 10. Producers banned white and brown.
It's turning west on 39th.
I see them.
Most television shows approach color theory casually if they think about it at all. Wardrobe picks clothes that look good on actors, set designers choose furniture that fits the space, and nobody worries too much about creating a unified visual palette. Miami Vice operated under completely different rules. Michael Mann didn't just want the show to look good. He wanted it to look like nothing else on television, and that required strict control over every single color that appeared on screen. So, he instituted a rule that seemed insane to everyone who heard it. 2 colors were absolutely forbidden from appearing anywhere in the show: white and brown. Wardrobe could not use them. Set designers could not use them. The props department could not use them. If an actor showed up wearing a white shirt or brown shoes, they were sent back to change. If a location scout found the perfect building, but it had brown doors or white walls, the production had to either paint it or find somewhere else. The only acceptable colors were pastels, black, and primary colors, like red, blue, and yellow. Everything else was banned. The costume and design teams thought Mann had lost his mind. They argued that white and brown were neutral basics, that eliminating them would make their jobs nearly impossible, that the restriction served no practical purpose. Mann refused to budge. He explained that white and brown represented the past, the ordinary, the traditional television look he was trying to destroy. Miami Vice existed in a heightened reality, where colors had meaning and every frame was composed like a painting. Number 9. Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas stopped speaking.
Freeze! Down on your face! Miami Vice! Down on your face!
On screen, Crockett and Tubbs were partners, brothers, 2 men who trusted each other completely and would die for each other without hesitation. Their chemistry was electric, their banter felt natural, and viewers believed in their friendship because it looked absolutely real. Off-screen, the relationship was completely different. By the middle of season 3, Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas had stopped speaking to each other, except when cameras were rolling. It wasn't a sudden explosion or a dramatic confrontation. The friendship just eroded slowly, worn down by ego, competition, and the pressure of sudden fame. Johnson had become the breakout star, the face of Miami Vice, who appeared on magazine covers and talk shows. Thomas resented being treated as the sidekick when he believed they were equals. Johnson felt Thomas wasn't putting in the same work, that he showed up unprepared and expected everyone else to compensate. Small tensions became larger resentments. Conversations became arguments. Arguments became cold silence. They stopped eating meals together, stopped socializing between takes, stopped making any effort to maintain even a professional friendship. Directors had to choreograph scenes carefully to minimize their off-camera interaction. If a scene required them to arrive together, they would drive separately and meet on set. If they needed to rehearse, an assistant director would work with each actor individually rather than bringing them together. Number 8. The show single-handedly revived Miami tourism.
Held a meet and greet in South Beach. We spoke to Edward James Olmos, who played Lieutenant Martin Castillo. He said when they were filming the show 40 years ago,
before Miami Vice, Miami was dying. The city had spent the 1970s and early 80s declining into economic depression and violent crime. South Beach was a retirement community filled with aging Art Deco hotels that were crumbling into the sand. The beaches were empty. Businesses were closing. Property values were collapsing. The national perception of Miami was simple: dangerous, poor, past its prime, somewhere to avoid rather than visit. Travel agents stopped booking Miami vacations. Convention organizers chose other cities. Developers invested their money elsewhere. The local tourism industry was in freefall with no clear path to recovery. Then Miami Vice premiered in September of 1984, and everything changed almost overnight. Suddenly, millions of viewers were watching a version of Miami that looked nothing like the depressed reality. They saw pastel Art Deco buildings glowing in golden sunlight. They saw beautiful people in expensive clothes driving exotic cars along pristine beaches. They saw nightclubs, luxury hotels, speedboats cutting through turquoise water. The Miami on television looked glamorous, exciting, dangerous in an appealing way rather than a threatening one, and people wanted to go there. Tourism numbers started climbing immediately. Hotels that had been struggling to fill rooms were suddenly booked solid. Airlines added flights to Miami. Developers started buying up those crumbling South Beach properties and renovating them into the fashionable hotels they appeared to be on television. Number 7. Cocaine was found. On set, multiple times.
See, the dean don't need no test. I just take a little taste of the lady.
I'm sure she... Oh, shit!
Too bad. All right, we'll divide it up here.
Miami. Vice was a show about drug trafficking, so prop departments kept fake cocaine on hand for scenes involving drug deals, evidence bags, and crime scenes. The fake stuff was usually powdered lactose, or vitamin B powder, harmless substances that looked convincing on camera. But during the show's 5-year run, real cocaine kept appearing in places it shouldn't. A prop master would open a storage case and find actual drugs mixed in with the fake supply. A janitor would discover a small bag in a trailer that hadn't been used in days. Security would find residue on surfaces in rooms that had been locked overnight. It happened too many times to be coincidence, but nobody could ever figure out how or why. Production hired additional security, installed locks on prop storage, conducted random searches, and brought in drug-sniffing dogs. The cetane kept appearing anyway. Theories spread through the crew. Maybe someone was using the production as cover for dealing, stashing drugs on set where police would never think to look. Maybe local dealers were pranking the show by planting cocaine as a joke. Maybe crew members were using it during off hours and leaving evidence behind carelessly. Or maybe in a city where cetane trafficking was epidemic in the mid-80s, the drug was so prevalent that it simply drifted onto the set through random contact, brought in on shoes or clothes or equipment without anyone noticing. Number 6. Edward James, Olmos, improvised his entire character.
Welcome to Miami.
Lieutenant Martin Castillo wasn't in the original Miami Vice pilot. The character didn't exist in early scripts, wasn't part of the initial concept, and wasn't included in casting discussions. The show was designed around Crockett and Tubbs, with various supporting characters rotating in and out as needed. But during production of early episodes, Michael Mann realized something was missing. The two leads needed someone to report to, someone who represented authority, but wasn't a typical television boss barking orders and creating obstacles. He needed a character who was mysterious, controlled, dangerous in a completely different way than the street criminals the detectives chased. Edward. James Olmos was brought in initially for a single guest appearance, a throwaway role that would establish police hierarchy and nothing more. But Olmos didn't play it that way. He created Castillo from pure instinct, building a character defined by what he didn't say rather than what he did. He spoke in a near whisper, moved with deliberate economy, and stared at people with an intensity that suggested violence always hovering just beneath the surface. He gave Castillo a mysterious past, hints of special forces training, suggestions of dark operations in Southeast Asia that explained his 1,000-yard stare. None of this was written. Olmos just made choices, committed to them completely, and created someone far more interesting than the script had offered. Number 5. They filmed a scene. During an actual drug bust, Miami in the mid-'80s was a war zone. The cocaine trade had turned entire neighborhoods into battlegrounds, where dealers and police fought for control in running gun battles that left bodies in the streets. The Metro-Dade Police Department was conducting operations constantly, raiding stash houses, arresting traffickers, seizing drugs and weapons. And somehow, Miami Vice production was filming right in the middle of it all. During a Season 3 exterior shoot in a sketchy neighborhood known for drug activity, the crew had permits, police escorts, and assurances that the area had been cleared and secured. They were filming a scene where Crockett and Tubbs were surveilling a location, waiting for a deal to go down. Cameras were rolling, actors were in position, extras were playing low-level dealers in the background. Then real police cars came screaming around the corner, sirens blaring, officers jumping out with weapons drawn. It was an actual drug bust happening in real time, completely unrelated to the production. The police had been tracking suspects to that exact location and were executing a raid that nobody had coordinated with the film crew. For a moment, complete chaos. Production assistants were shouting at the police to stop. Police were yelling at the crew to get out of the way. Actors didn't know if they should stay in character or run. And the cameras, they just kept rolling, because this was the most authentic Miami Vice footage they would ever capture. Number 4. The show was supposed to be a mid-season replacement. NBC had no faith in Miami Vice. None. The network was struggling in the ratings, desperately throwing anything at the wall hoping something would stick, and this strange cop show that looked like a music video seemed like a massive gamble that would probably fail. So they didn't give it a prime fall premiere slot. They didn't put marketing money behind it. They didn't treat it like a potential hit. Instead, they scheduled it as a mid-season replacement, filler programming designed to plug a hole in the winter schedule when other shows inevitably failed or went on hiatus. The expectations were so low that executives didn't even bother attending the premiere screening. It was just another show, probably destined to disappear after 6 episodes like dozens of other forgotten programs. Miami Vice premiered on September 16, 1984, buried on a Friday night when fewer people watched television. NBC figured it would get quiet ratings, run its contracted episodes, and fade away without making much impact. The premiere numbers were decent but not spectacular. Then something unexpected happened. Word of mouth exploded. People who had watched that first episode started telling friends, calling family members, showing up at work Monday morning, talking about this insane new cop show that looked and sounded like nothing else on television. By episode 3, the ratings had doubled. By episode 5, Miami Vice was the biggest hit NBC had produced in years. dominating its time slot and becoming a cultural phenomenon. Critics who had ignored the premiere were now writing think pieces about its revolutionary visual style.
Sonny Crockett.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I was just checking out the view.
Number 3. Versace Dressed. The cast for free. Gianni Versace was already a respected designer in Europe, but in 1984 he was virtually unknown in America. He had the talent, the vision, the creativity, but he couldn't break through in the American market where established designers dominated and new names struggled to gain any traction. Then he discovered Miami Vice. He watched an early episode, saw Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas wearing those pastel suits, and immediately recognized an opportunity. The production could have everything for free in exchange for one thing: prominent display and occasional on-screen credit. The wardrobe department was skeptical. Designers didn't give away expensive clothes without strings attached, and Versace's offer seemed like it had to be hiding some catch. But there was no catch. He genuinely wanted the exposure, believing that dressing Crockett in tubs would introduce his aesthetic to American audiences in a way that traditional advertising never could. The pastel suits got sharper, more sophisticated. The evening wear became more dramatic, and every piece had Versace's distinctive style, his signature approach to color and cut and fabric. American viewers saw those clothes every week, started asking where they could buy similar styles, and began seeking out Versace boutiques and department store collections. Within 2 years, Gianni Versace had become a household name in the United States. His American business exploded, and he was dressing celebrities, socialites, and anyone who wanted to capture that Miami Vice glamour. He gave away thousands of dollars worth of clothing and turned it into millions in exposure and sales. The arrangement was pure genius, a perfect symbiosis where both the show and the designer benefited equally. Number 2. The pilot was recut 7 times. Michael Mann delivered his first cut of the Miami Vice pilot confident that he had created something special. He had executed his vision exactly as planned, crafted a 2-hour movie that introduced the characters, established the tone, and demonstrated what the series could become. He screened it for NBC executives expecting praise or at least approval. Instead, he panicked. The network didn't understand what they were watching. It was too slow, too stylized, too different from every other cop show on television. Where were the car chases? Where was the constant action? Why did scenes play out over music with minimal dialogue? Why did the camera linger on images instead of cutting quickly to the next plot point? The executives demanded changes. Make it faster, they said. Add more exposition, explain the characters more clearly, cut the music sequences, make it look like a normal show. Mann refused initially, arguing that what they were asking for would destroy everything unique about Miami Vice. But the network had final cut approval, and they weren't backing down. So Mann went back to the editing bay and recut the pilot. He tightened scenes, added dialogue, adjusted pacing. He showed the network the second version. Not good enough, they said. Too much style, not enough story. Cut it again. 7 times this process repeated. 7 different versions of the pilot, each one adjusted to address network notes, each one moving further away from Mann's original vision. By the 7th cut, he was exhausted and furious, convinced that the network was going to turn Miami Vice into generic garbage that would fail immediately. But something strange happened during that brutal revision process. The pilot got better, not because it became more conventional, but because the forced editing made Mann find the balance between his artistic vision and audience accessibility. The 7th version kept the visual style, the music-driven storytelling, the atmospheric mood, but it also moved faster, explained more, and gave viewers something to hold on to. That final cut satisfied the network enough to proceed and became the pilot that launched the series. Number 1. Michael Mann, directed with a paintbrush.
At the place, those two things together, it made everything poignant and magnified. That was the allure. That was.
Correct fuel supply line growth.
I think you could be a pilot. What do you think?
Most television directors think in terms of coverage and storytelling. They position cameras to capture performances. They block scenes to advance plot. They make choices designed to communicate information clearly and efficiently. Michael Mann approached Miami Vice completely differently. He thought about each episode as a painting, a visual composition where color, light, shadow, and movement mattered more than traditional narrative structure. He didn't just want to tell stories. He wanted to create images that would burn into viewers' memories long after the plot was forgotten. On set, he would spend hours adjusting lighting to get the exact shade of neon he wanted, reflected in a puddle. He would delay scenes until sunset hit the precise angle that made buildings glow. He would reject takes that were dramatically perfect. Because the visual composition wasn't right, because a color was wrong, or a shadow fell incorrectly. Actors would deliver brilliant performances, and Mann would say, "Cut, we're doing it again," and the reason wouldn't be the acting, it would be that a car in the background was the wrong shade of red. Cinematographers who worked with him said it was like collaborating with a painter who happened to be making a television show rather than hanging canvases in galleries. He cared about mood and atmosphere with an obsessive intensity that bordered on madness. If a scene was set at night, he would refuse to light it conventionally, insisting on darkness, punctuated by specific points of color that created depth and mystery. If a scene played on the beach, he would wait for cloud cover that created the exact quality of diffused light he wanted. Production schedules meant nothing if the visual wasn't perfect. Network executives complained constantly about his methods, arguing that he was wasting time and money on details audiences wouldn't notice or appreciate. But Mann never compromised. He understood something fundamental about visual storytelling. People might forget dialogue, might not remember plot twists, but they would remember how a show made them feel. Miami Vice didn't follow the rules. It painted them in pastels, set them to synthesizers, and drove over them in a Ferrari that wasn't even real. From napkin pitches to Versace suits, from band colors to real drug busts. This show broke every convention and somehow became iconic. If these facts changed how you see those neon nights, hit like, subscribe, and tell us what surprised you most. Because sometimes the most stylish revolution starts with just 2 words: MTV Cops.